Hey, hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. It's Kristin Nolan here, behind the camera, the wise thumbs in the live chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Sunday if you're watching this live on Sunday. If you're not, whenever you're watching it, it's live for you. I want to say that because it's important. It's really all that matters. It's the moment that you're in. Inspired Tribe, we're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. We are coming together on this Sunday to once again break free from current comfort zones. I will say this will probably be provoking for some, triggering for others, and frankly, it should be. I think for way too long we have um, remained in our comfort zones and have not expanded into the true level of awareness that it requires of us. So that's why I enjoy doing this to myself first and foremost. When I challenge myself, when I provoke myself into overcoming old and limiting beliefs, that's the beginning. And only then can I share something about that journey. Everything else would be just, hot air. So, just wanted to say that. Let me welcome you in a live chat before we dive into the topic today. I see alternative realities here. Timothy, welcome. Lisa's here. Sabera's 50 call dog. Is that it? I don't have my glasses on. So excuse me for butchering names. James is here. Good to see you. Wonderful to see you all. And we're on Rumble. We're on YouTube simultaneously live streaming. And I think today's topic, we don't have to cut off here on YouTube. I think we're not going to go as deep into anything political. But what I wanted to share with you is a thought that's been coming up over many. Namo says balance. It's interesting. It's going to come up today. What we wanted to share with you, something that Christine and I discussed a lot, especially over the past few years. And because we've dedicated our lives to first and foremost our inner expansion, because we have dedicated our life into going higher, and this is what's going to be triggering, but I'm going to explain, so don't just shut up. Higher and higher on the pyramid of awareness. And when people hear pyramid, they go, oh my God, Illuminati, all-seeing eye. No. The real pyramid is a beautiful analogy and example. It is also an energy portal. It is a deeply important symbol, and it shows the path of true inner expansion. And what I mean is that this is what we dedicated our lives to. And when you do that, you come into teachings, you meet teachers, you meet masters, a big difference. You meet great leaders that are sometimes not exposing themselves as leaders, but they are very influential leaders. And on this journey, we realized that over the last decades, there has been an explosion of exposure and revelation of hidden teachings, spiritual teachings, occult teachings, or esoteric teachings, anything and everything that has to do with the development of our spirit and of our awareness. And a lot of times I thought, did we do ourselves a disservice by just throwing it out there, by not having more discernment into what kind of knowledge we make available to whom at what time? Now, this sounds like an elitist thing to say, but the truth is, if I have, let's say, I have a nuclear power plant, and I'm the one that has the knowledge about all the processes, that understands every piece of the puzzle of a nuclear plant, and there is a new person coming in. I don't want them to initially get access to all that knowledge. I want them to first understand and comprehend each level of the operation. Otherwise, their access to that knowledge could be dangerous. And I believe in many ways that is what has happened, and it's happened on purpose. And so I want to explain a little bit what I mean by all of that, what I mean by the pyramid. We are very different beings, all of us that inhabit the earth right now, different in terms of where we stand in our awareness journey. If we release the judgment of this is better, worse, good, bad, we can look at it for what it is and go through the levels and now explain why we believe that now more than ever it needs true leaders, and true leaders are something different than what we see now. So let me start here. This is what I might call the pyramid of consciousness, and I will go a little bit through the layers where it begins. I won't even share what the top layer is because I don't want to just put it out there. It has to be experienced. But the bottom layer of human experience is the physical realm. And it's where most people, at least from my perception, are in. They experience themselves as physical beings. You know, I am this body, I have this life, I go to work, I do what is required of me, and that's it. It's when you have the converse when you ask someone like that, what is the vision of your life? What is the meaning of your life? They are dumbfounded. I mean, they're just, what are you even talking about? You know, I get up, I go to work, I eat food, I watch a football game. It's a very, very physical based, materialistic presence. And our whole reality that we live in, the whole matrix reality, focuses mainly only on this one level of existence, which is what we perceive to be the physical. So everything is aimed at keeping people there, because that's when they don't have a vision. They don't even have awareness of awareness. They just stay there and they follow whatever they're being told. The problem with that is not just that people never reach a higher level of awareness. The problem is really that our current leaders are they're simply at the top of this bottom layer. That's where they are. They also have no higher or even awareness that there is something more. They're very caught in their physical realm. Christine and I had the distinct honor of meeting quite a few politicians over the years, and they are caught for the most part in the physical world fully, and hence all their decisions are based on materialistic, egotistical, survival, staying in power. It's a very, very destructive game, right? And now the rest, for the rest of this live stream, you could even say it's going to sound like elitist talk. I believe we need to really transcend in the choosing of our leaders. We now allow for the lowest of expression of consciousness to lead extremely important things in our collective experience, from countries to huge corporations that are literally in charge of a whole basic need like food or water or power. We have allowed for the bottom feeders, excuse me, the bottom feeders to have extreme decision making power. And on this journey, it's all our own responsibility. And I want to get through the layers so you know what I mean. It starts with the physical. The next layer, and it's all inner work, it all begins in the inner realm. The next layer is the beginning of awareness. What does that mean? It's when you begin to realize there is something that is disconnected from my body. I have consciousness and awareness that is not solely my senses. It's not just my eyes, my ears, my taste, my touch. There is something beyond that, and that is the beginning of awareness. This beginning of awareness is the beginning of your spiritual maturity journey. If you never get on that journey, you remain a spiritual infant. You remain a spiritual little baby. That's just how it is. Once you get into that journey, the beginning of awareness, it's like the first lifting of the veil, the first real light that begins to simmer through. If you stay on that journey, it's very quickly that you move to the third layer. And the third layer is questioning. You begin to question, simply look at the reality around you, look at your own life, and you begin to say, okay, what is what? What is physical? Who am I? Am I more than this? If I am more than this, what am I? These are still questions where you're like, you're in the dark, you're stretching out your hands and you're beginning to, touch and see what's in front of you, Every now and then you almost open your eyes, so you begin to question and ask the right questions. As soon as you go through that layer, and here, let me just say this. We're already at layer 3, and most politicians, leaders, most economic leaders, they're bottom. They're down here. That's why we have all the problems. So then you get into the 4th layer, and these are just my words that I use to explain these states. You could explain them differently, and people might say, "Oh, there's more than that." Is moving into responsibility, and that is when you begin to realize you have a huge part in what you do, and more importantly, realizing you have a huge part in what you experience in this life. So you are actually conscious and aware and beginning to take responsibility for that. This is a huge step. The number 4 step, it's like this is this is where it begins to really turn. When you begin to take responsibility, not just for your physical actions, but also for your spiritual well-being. When you begin to realize you're responsible for how you feel, you're responsible for your physical well-being, you're responsible for what you put out in the world, and what comes back to you, you're also responsible for. This is the part that tricks people, or trips people up. But yeah, this is very, very, very important. So then we move up the next layer, and the next layer is balance. It's when you begin to balance all of these new understandings between the physical and the spiritual, between your presence in the 3D world and your presence in infinite realm. And that is when people really begin to meditate deeply. Oh, Ronnie, thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it very much. When people begin to uh, become very calm beings in the outside world. We have a few of those leaders out there. They're very hidden, but we have a few of those. And this balanced state allows you to see all of a sudden you have a much greater perspective of everything that is going on, because it's like a scale that's in balance, right? It's a beautiful thing to even watch. Now, again, let me reiterate. Today, most leaders that we either through negligence, through ignorance, through passivity, through indifference, we put in charge are bottom layer people. Bottom layer people. They're just concerned with the physical, nothing else. From balance, the next state up is authenticity. That's when you move from identity. Identity means you identify with something that is already there. It's something that you're emulating it, you're copying it, you're identifying with a box, with a with a description, with a race, with a job, with whatever. And then you move into authenticity, which is realizing who you really are. What is this expression that I really am? It is way beyond anything physical, because it began before I was physical, and it will last long after this physical experience is over in this body. And so this authenticity, it's like a unique marker of infinite consciousness, of God consciousness. It is a very unique thing. And in this uniqueness, we find true authenticity of our words. We find true authenticity in our expressions. We begin to function at a completely different level. And we're going to talk about the level some more. Then the next level from this authenticity is to move into the spirit, into what is the highest inspiration. It's when you get into true connection with God. And when you stay in the spirit, your life once again completely changes in how you express yourself, how you lead. It is absolutely indescribable, and hence the masters and the teachers cannot teach you by their words. They can guide you, lead you, and if you follow their lead, you can make it into that state. It cannot be described. It's where the word cease to explain what's happening. Then Even though the words now cease to explain it, we can still try to point to it. The last layer I want to talk about, it's not the last layer in the pyramid, it's the last layer I want to talk about, is connection, real unit connection. And I leave it at that because I do believe we have to focus now, and I'll tell you why we have to focus on the other layers. Because you cannot, even though you have this knowledge, you read all the books, you have watched all the videos, documentaries, all the Gaia programming, everything that's out there, you cannot, simply by understanding this highest concept of the top of the pyramid, you cannot jump from the physical even 2 layers up until you have fully lived, accepted all the lessons that this layer has to tell you, and you have actually acknowledged and accepted the presence of that layer within you, and you've healed it in terms of everything that is painful for you on the physical level, everything that's with blame, everything with greed, everything with jealousy, everything that happens on that physical level. When it's healed for you, then you transcend and go into the next level of beginning of awareness. Unless you heal on that level, and unless you learn all the lessons on that level and are willing to learn them, you cannot get into the next level. And that's why so often when people come out and say, why are you talking like you're talking, we're all one, we're one unity, we're one love, we're all love and light, I have almost always, I feel sick when I hear these words, not because the words themselves are not beautiful, because there's 2 aspects to this. The real masters and teachers that I had the pleasure of meeting in my life have never said those words to me. I do believe on the highest level they know this. They've never said those words to me. They would never say those words to me. They know it's irresponsible to do that, and it's wrong. The people who actually say these words all the time don't live them. They just say them because it makes them feel comfortable in a situation of fear and worry to think that, but they don't live that. And that's why it's so sickening to me, because it's fake, because it's not authentic, because they're fooling themselves. Thank you so much, Kay Ryan. Thank you for your contribution. They're fooling themselves, and they're then keeping themselves lower on the journey of awareness for longer periods of time than necessary. You cannot exist on a physical level and worry and be fearful about your daily survival and be in constant panic and fear and talk about we're all one. It's so far removed. These 2 states are so far removed from each other. You have to give yourself permission to go the journey and go the full distance, because you from here, whoever, if you are on a physical level, you can never jump into authenticity from the physical right away. You can only go up. What you can do is, once you master the different layers, you can always come back down. It's like in the computer game. These games and simulations are all expressions of the journey. You can always go back a level, right? But unless you've completed a level in a computer game, at least that's what I'm told. I'm not a player, but I watch people around me that talk about this. Unless you have completed a level, you cannot go up. But you can come back down to different levels if you choose to. And that's what teachers and masters constantly do. They bring their highest consciousness, their highest awareness, their highest understanding, and then go down to the layers and express it in the way and the language of that particular layer. They don't use analogies, symbolism, stories, and words that a person on that layer cannot yet comprehend, but they use the energy of that layer to help that person in their own layer. This is what is happening on the spiritual awakening journey every single day. And that's why the higher up you go on that pyramid, and again, I know it sounds like hierarchy, I know it sounds like elitism, and I understand this is provoking people, but that's just how it is. Just because you don't want to accept it, because you feel you have equal rights to every layer, you don't. It's a journey, it's discipline, it's development, it's consciousness, it's showing up every day. It's knowing what the journey really is versus what you think it is. It's not chips, it's not movie nights on the couch every day. It's not being distracted by entertainment all the time. It's not thinking for yourself. All these things are not the journey. They're the distraction. So those who move up and who have made their lives about moving into the highest realm, they then really transcend what we have discussed often, this wheel of karma. It's what David Icke has, what he's talking about in our recent interview. He's using different words. He's using a different path there. But we really transcend the wheels of karma when we get to this highest state of consciousness where we cannot forget what we have learned anymore. And then we can choose to keep or return to this place, return to this realm, return to this sphere to help others on this journey, and maybe even in the big scheme of things, dissolve this lowest realm and have no necessity for it anymore. So when I say the path of the true leaders is now not just going up the pyramid, but then working on each level every day, expressing themselves. This is the hugest, the biggest responsibility you could possibly take on in your life. If you actually are willing to lead in layers that are below your own level of awareness, because then you overcome your ego, you overcome your own self-importance, you're actually self-actualized, and you then begin to help all the others. And through helping all the others, you help the true I, the universal consciousness. I mean, these are metaphysical and concepts that are kind of hard to describe in words, but it is the journey. And so why we so often encourage everyone to go within, to meditate, to be in nature, to go into inner states, is because it is the only way. We have now, when we look into the world, all the problems that we have, all the suffering, all the pain, is because we have been distracted for long enough collectively that we have lost our path. We have lost the true path of spiritual development. We have lost the true path of consciousness. And now we're trapped into the physical realm. Most people, the vast majority of people, are in the physical realm. Materialistic. It's greed, survival, it's anger, frustration, violence. It's all happening down there. And now the true leaders, the true elders, need to be responsible, because you're not on a ballot. Nobody's going to vote for you because you're not running for a position necessarily. You are assuming leadership because you have reached a level of inner standing and consciousness that authorizes you to assume that position. Now, this sounds dictatorial in any political sense, but this is the truth. You must do that. You must take the responsibility and lead with passion, and lead with conviction. Shine your light so brightly, because you know, and a lot of the others don't know yet. Wow. I mean, even when I hear myself saying that, I understand how that sounds, but that's the truth. That is the truth. The, if you will, ascended masters have always come back. What do you think Jesus has done? He's assumed leadership, this Christ consciousness expression in Jesus. He assumed, we all say, well, he's the Son of God. And do you think that Jesus, what we know about this life of Jesus, do you think Jesus was fully aware at all points in his life that he is the or a Son of God? I don't know. Maybe this awareness has become stronger over time. But at any rate, he assumed leadership. He assumed even authority over those who have not yet reached that level of consciousness, because he came from the highest place possible and the highest awareness possible. He was leading with a true heart, and to the benefit of those who he led. And when we talk about democracy today, when we talk about these concepts, we don't take into account that the vast majority of the people who are participating in it lack the maturity, completely lack the spiritual maturity to do that. It's people are going to comment it's dangerous to talk about that, but isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth that if you talk to someone and you ask them, what is the purpose of your life? What is the vision for your life? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? What do you feel is the path for our nation, for our communities, for our culture? And they have zero answers for any of those questions. And then they assume the responsibility of choosing leaders. That's all theoretical, I know, but I'm just saying, I don't see this. So we must assume leadership without, even when we're not on a ballot. It doesn't mean we rule over people. True leaders produce more leaders. That's the whole purpose of leadership. A true leader produces more leaders. And this is what we need to assume when we find ourselves on this journey of consciousness expansion. Because in the end of this experiment that's happening now, when we will transcend the control and power grid, we will have to have established a way of life where everybody can self-govern again, where families are their own leaders, where clans decide their fate, their own fate, and where we have a level of maturity where we don't need centralized leaders anymore. The truth also is that because people have been trapped in the physical realm for so long, and they are so instinct driven, they actually have produced this ruling themselves. They've brought it on themselves because they don't self-regulate. They lack the moral, ethical, and spiritual principles in their lives to self-regulate. So they constantly need someone. They need a police officer, or they need some authority figure who tells them what to do and what not to do, because they would go beyond all boundaries and be in a very primitive state. It's interesting when we really dissect these concepts how brutal that sounds, but that's just an observation of our society. That's what I've been doing all my life, observing this. And we do ourselves a disservice if we say we're all the same. We're not. It doesn't mean we don't all receive our rights from the same place. It doesn't mean we don't all have inalienable rights that are given to us by our Creator. But what we choose to do with them, how we choose to express ourselves, determines whether we're all the same or not. We're not the same levels of consciousness. We're not. And I would rather lose my physical life than allow for some of these lower expressions, very lower expressions, to have any say over my life. That's the journey, and it's kind of challenging to talk about it in a public way because there's so many ways to attack what I've said over the past 30 minutes or so. I understand that. I knew this was the case, and I'm willing to take that risk because the truth, it can be challenged, it can be attacked, it'll stand the test of time. The truth is, if we don't go on the journey, we'll always be in the place we're at now, and it will only get worse. We'll be trapped in this realm, and we'll be trapped in an experience that it's the same cycle. Somebody said in a meeting that we had yesterday, somebody said history might not repeat, but it sure rhymes. I think that was a very, very great expression. History does not repeat, but it rhymes. And the only way to get out of that cycle is to ascend on the pyramid of awareness and consciousness and assume responsibility and assume leadership until we have established a way of life where everybody can self-govern and lead. That's it. That is where I see our journey going. That is where I see how it can play out. That is where I see what ascension really is. The magical miracle day where we all just float up into 5D and 6D and 7D and we won't have to do anything for it. It's not coming. The path where we are being enlightened rather than enlighten ourselves is not coming. The day where where we're just waking up and we are living to the fullest of our capabilities, it's not coming. That day will never come. It is our journey, yours. Yours. It's for you, it's yours alone. You dictate, you decide, you choose. But you have to choose if you want it. Otherwise, you're going to remain in this cycle and it's going to continue to go on and on and on and on and on. This karmic cycle, it can go on forever. You can go on forever into the same experience. People do this all their lives. They have the same experiences over and over and over. They meet the same person, different names, different faces, but it's the same person, the same experience. It only gets worse, but it's quintessentially the same experience. And so I encourage you, as always, go within. See if any of this resonates with you. See what happens when you go beyond the physical, when you go beyond the ego, and begin asking, who am I really? And when you move up and go into, can I really take responsibility for my well-being? Can I create inner balance? Can I be in the spirit? Can I be connected to the Creator? You won't be who you are anymore. Never again. You'll be something and someone different. You'll be a much purer expression. It's like washing off all that which isn't you and leaving the essence of that which is you. And then I encourage you to lead. Lead every day in every way. Inspire Tribe. Thank you so much for joining me on this deeply philosophical journey today. I thank the Creator for speaking through me. I hope I did the Creator justice. And I want to thank you for allowing me to do that, for allowing us to do that. We love you. We appreciate you. And I think we have a few spots left, right?
A few spots, yes.
Yeah. So people have asked us. We got emails. Is there still any room for Yato? Yes, there is a few spots left. So if you feel inspired to join us for this retreat from September 29th to October 2nd, the Yato retreat, you are the one, down in Cape San Blas, Florida. We would love to have you if you really truly feel inspired. After everything I've said today, if you truly feel inspired to join us, we would love to have you. Just send us an email to info@inspiredchannel.net and we'll send you all the information. Put Yato in the subject line, YATO, so we know why you're reaching out. And we'll send you all the information. We'd love to have you. Again, a few spots are left. All right, Tribe, thank you so much. Have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day.